If one no has ever made you question whether your vision was even possible, this episode is for you. Because sometimes the first closed door is not rejection, sometimes it's only showing you that you need a different path. Welcome to Breakthrough Weekly. I'm your host, Monica Pelayo. Every week, we go beneath the surface of what's keeping you stuck, not to the symptoms, to where it actually started. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, thank you for being back. Today's episode is titled, Why One No Can Make You Stop Trying. Let's begin. Sometimes the first no is not the end of the vision, it's simply the wrong door. Most people never find out because they stop at the door. Working at Intel taught me that in one of the biggest ways. Years ago, I partnered with another admin who eventually became a really good friend. While I was training her to cover my sabbatical, she shared a project she was working on with a group of admins focused on improving the onboarding experience for new Intel employees. At the time, Intel was a global company with over 100,000 employees across more than 40 countries. It was an enormous environment with endless tools, systems, acronyms, procedures, and processes. Even highly capable employees could feel overwhelmed trying to figure everything out on their own. Back then, onboarding mostly focused on benefits and general orientation, but there wasn't a centralized practical resource that helped employees navigate the day to day reality of working inside such a large corporation. I worked in Intel's data center group, which operated almost like a small startup within the larger company. We were growing aggressively and had already started building onboarding resources internally because we understood how difficult it was for new employees to absorb so much information at once. So when my friend shared this project, the idea immediately resonated with me. I remember the way she described the vision. We want to roll out the red carpet for new employees. And honestly, she was right. How employees experience their first few weeks inside a company can influence how supported, connected, and successful they feel long term. When people feel lost or disconnected early on, retention becomes much harder. This project was never about one person. The original vision came from my friend and the group of admins who had already started working on improving the onboarding experiences for new hires. As a group, we all contributed ideas, resources, links, processes, and recommendations from our different organizations. Everyone brought value insight to the table. At the time, I was only one of the senior admins within our group, and I think that experience helped me contribute in different ways, especially when it came to navigating conversations, building relationship, influencing across organizations, and helping the team continue move forward when we hit obstacles. Even later, when I moved into Intel's CEO office, I intentionally stayed involved because I understood how important the group and the onboarding resources had become. Despite supporting one of the highest levels within the company, I still believe deeply in the impact the project was creating for employees worldwide. What made the project successful wasn't one individual. It was a collaboration, persistence, creativity, and shared belief that we could create something better for employees. Strong teams don't work because everyone has the same strengths. They work because people bring different strengths to the table. Some people are great at organizing systems, some are communicators, some are relationship builders, strategic thinkers, problem solvers, or visionaries. What made our group successful was that we were aligned around one common purpose, and each person contributed through their own unique strengths. No one had to be great at everything. And I think a lot of high performing professionals stay stuck because they believe they need to know everything before they begin. They say things like, I'm not ready, I don't know enough, I can't do this because I don't have every skill. But growth doesn't work that way. You need to be willing to contribute what you do know, continue learning, and allow other people's strengths to complement your own. Part of the original idea involved integrating onboarding resources directly into an internal onboarding tool. When a hiring manager or admin entered a new hire into the system, the employee would automatically receive onboarding information tailored to their organization. But when the idea was presented to the IT department responsible for the tool, the answer was no. I was not in the room when the idea was presented to IT, but when I spoke to the team afterward to get a pass down, I could hear the discouragement in their voices. Part of the team felt defeated because we genuinely believed we had created something valuable that could help employees across the company. The team felt discouraged. Part of them wanted to give up, but I remember saying, "We're not accepting that no. There has to be another workaround, another way." Because sometimes people hear no and immediately assume the entire vision is impossible. But often, it's not the vision that's wrong, it's just the path. I reached out to a close friend who at the time was the executive assistant to Intel's chief technology officer because I wanted to better understand why the request had been denied. What I discovered changed everything. The issue wasn't that our idea lacked value, the issue was that the onboarding tool itself was already scheduled to be replaced. IT simply didn't want to invest the time making changes to a system that would soon be retired. That was a different problem. My friend actually loved what we were trying to build and thought parts of it could help her own organization as well. So I went back to the team and said, "It's only a no to this one piece, not the entire vision." Sometimes the first door Sometimes the first closed door is not rejection of the vision itself. Sometimes it's simply redirection. Instead of focusing on the tool, we shifted directions and partnered directly with HR and Intel's corporate onboarding and integration program. We presented the onboarding resource and explained the long term value behind it. The onboarding team loved the idea and wanted to implement it, but they raised a valid concern. How do we keep this information from becoming outdated? It was a fair question. Broken links, obsolete processes, and inaccurate information would completely defeat the purpose. So, as a team, we created a sustainable process developing a rotation schedule where members of our core group would take turns reviewing links, validating tools, updating procedures, and ensuring the resource remained accurate and relevant. What started as a U.S. onboarding initiative eventually expanded into a global resource used across 17 countries. For the countries that wanted to participate, we collaborated closely with their admin teams and shared the template processes and updates so they could tailor it to their own tools and regional processes while maintaining the overall structure. The onboarding resource was eventually featured on Intel Circuit, Intel's internal company-wide news platform, as well as Intel's new to Intel webpage, our new employee orientation, and various divisions' websites. Our team also received the Intel Administrative Achievement Award in the third quarter of 2015 for creating what admins want you to know, essential links for you as employees. An onboarding portal designed to provide employees with seamless access to commonly used workplace tools, procedures, and resources. Looking back, I want to give recognition to the incredible team of admins who included me in this mission and contributed their ideas, time, and strengths to make it successful. This project was a true reminder that regardless of your position, title, or role, you can create a meaningful impact when people come together around a shared purpose and truly believe in what they are building. The biggest lesson for me had nothing to do with the award. It was this: if we had accepted the first no, none of it would have existed. And I think this is where so many capable professionals unknowingly stay stuck. Not because they lack intelligence, talent, or potential, but because an obstacle, rejection, or closed door subconsciously activates a belief they already carry about themselves. I'm not capable. I'm not good enough. What I want probably isn't available to me. And once that belief gets activated, people start shrinking. They minimize action, overthink, hesitate, stop advocating for themselves, and start listening more to fear than possibility. What I didn't fully understand until years later was why that no almost stopped everything and why so many professionals I know work with experience the same invisible pattern in their career, businesses, relationships, and lives. This project didn't move forward simply because we had a good idea. A lot of people have good ideas. What moves ideas forward is the ability to communicate the vision clearly enough that other people can see the value in it. We had to build relationships across organizations, advocate for why this mattered, and help people visualize the impact it could have. When you truly believe in something and are fully invested in it, you usually find another way forward. Not because the process becomes easy, but because belief changes how persistent, resourceful, and committed you become. It changes how you show up, how you communicate, and how much energy and resilience you bring to solving problems. People are often influenced by the level of conviction behind what you're sharing. If you don't believe in your own vision, it becomes difficult for others to believe in it too. One of the most powerful skills you can develop is the ability to help other people visualize what you already see. To communicate an idea in a way that allows someone else to emotionally connect to that possibility behind it. That's what advocacy really is, helping people see potential before it fully exists. Especially with the work I do today, I understand something even deeper. If we carry that same level of belief, conviction, persistence within ourselves, the possibilities in our own lives would often expand far beyond what we currently allow ourselves to pursue. But what many people don't realize is that underneath their conscious goals and desires is subconscious programming created years earlier in childhood, a belief system formed long before we had the emotional maturity or logic to question it. And those beliefs quietly shape our outcomes. When someone truly believes something is possible for them, their energy, focus, persistence, and actions naturally align with that belief. They keep trying longer, become more resourceful, tolerate discomfort better, and stay connected to the vision even when obstacles appear. But when someone carries deep subconscious beliefs like I'm not enough, I don't belong, or what I want isn't available to me, the opposite happens. Fear makes them shrink, doubt minimizes action, overthinking creates paralysis, setbacks feel personal instead of temporary. And because these beliefs operate so automatically, most people don't even realize they're making decisions through them. They think they lack motivation, discipline, or capability, when many times they're simply operating from an outdated identity that no longer reflects who they truly are. This is the work I now help people navigate it. I've worked with professionals who intentionally knew they were capable and experienced, yet every time they were close to greater visibility, growth, or expansion, they would unconsciously procrastinate, second guess themselves, or shrink back into safety. Not because they lacked ability, but because a subconscious belief formed years earlier made visibility feel unsafe, failure feel catastrophic, or success feel undeserved. Once those patterns become visible, people finally begin understanding why they keep repeating the same cycles despite consciously wanting something different. You cannot change a pattern you do not recognize. This is also why I believe subconscious work and hypnosis based methods can be so powerful. Many people try to create change through logic, willpower, positive thinking, or surface level behavior changes. But when someone is still operating from fear, shame, unworthiness, or an outdated identity, they often continue repeating the same emotional cycles no matter how badly they consciously want change. Intellectually, they know they are capable, but internally, a part of them may still feel unsafe being fully seen, taking risks, succeeding, failing, speaking up, or stepping into something bigger. And when there is a gap between who someone consciously wants to become and the deeper story they carry about themselves, resistance starts showing up everywhere. They procrastinate, they stall, they play small, they retreat back into what feels familiar. Not because they're lazy or incapable, but because a part of them is still trying to protect them through old patterns created years earlier. That's why someone can know exactly what they should do, understand their patterns, and still struggle to move forward consistently because the mind is still operating from a story that no longer fits who they are becoming. This is what makes hypnosis based subconscious work different. We're not only talking about the behavior at the surface level, we're working with the deeper emotional patterns, beliefs, and associations driving it underneath. And when those deeper patterns begin shifting, people often find that change starts happening more naturally because there is finally alignment between the life they consciously want and the identity that they carry internally. Most people are not consciously aware of their belief systems, and many initially push back when certain beliefs are pointed out. If you ask someone, do you believe you're not good enough? Most will immediately say no. But then the conversation goes deeper. They start sharing stories about their patterns, the opportunities they didn't pursue, the ways they hold themselves back, and the situations they keep repeating, and suddenly the belief becomes visible, not because they directly said it, but because their patterns keep confirming it. Subconscious beliefs become so normalized and automatic that most people don't realize they're operating from them. The same way someone can drive home on autopilot and barely remember the drive, subconscious beliefs quietly guide reactions, decisions, and behaviors without being consciously questioned. And when those beliefs run on autopilot, they touch everything: how you see yourself, how you respond to opportunity, what risk feel worth taking, and how far you allow yourself to go. People often mistake these familiar patterns for truth. This is just who I am. This always happens to me, without realizing they may be viewing life through a filter they absorbed years ago. Self belief matters, not ego, not blind optimism, but learning to trust yourself enough to keep moving forward even when things feel uncertain, to see obstacles as information instead of identity. The professionals I work with do not just feel less stuck, they start showing up differently. They begin taking opportunities they would have previously talked themselves out of. They advocate for themselves in rooms where they used to stay quiet. They stop shrinking around fear, doubt, or other people's opinion and begin building toward things they had quietly convinced themselves were not available to them. Because when someone internal's identity begins to change, their decisions, behaviors, confidence, and actions naturally begin changing with it. If you recognize yourself in any of these parts feeling stuck despite knowing you're capable of more, struggling with self doubt, procrastination, fear, overthinking, or repeating the same patterns, know that many times the issues is not lack of potential. It's the subconscious programming underneath the behavior. And once you become aware of it, you finally have the opportunity to change it. You do not have to continue operating from beliefs, fears, or identities that were formed years ago and no longer reflect who you truly are. The call is not a sales pitch or pressure conversation. It's simply a space to explore what patterns, fears, or subconscious blocks may be keeping you stuck and whether this work could support you. If you're ready to explore what subconscious beliefs may be shaping your confidence, career, relationship, business, or ability to move forward, schedule a complimentary exploratory call here at www.thethrivingpathways.com/appointment. If something in this episode felt familiar, not just as a story, but as a pattern you recognize in your own life, that recognition matters. The subconscious doesn't surface what it isn't ready to be seen. If it came up, it's worth paying attention to. Thank you for spending this time with me. If someone came to mind while you were listening, that's not a coincidence. Send this episode to them. New episodes drop every Monday. Subscribe so you don't miss next week's Breakthrough Weekly. I'm Monica